Okay, students, welcome back to the biology YouTube channel. Our next topic discussion on biological classification. Biological classification. So first PUC NCERT textbook, chapter 2. Chapter 2. Okay, that's all. See here, for classifying the living organisms, here several attempts had been made by the biological scientists. Several attempts had been made by the biological scientists to classify the living organisms. Living organisms. Okay, that's all. Here, Aristotle, Greek philosopher, Aristotle. He is a Greek philosopher and biological scientist at 14th century. He was the earlier scientist. He classified number of organisms on the basis of scientific basis. Scientific basis of classification. Scientific basis of classification. After him, another scientist that is Carolus Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus. He belongs to the Swedish natural scientists at about 18th century. 18th century AD 1707 to 1778. He is known as the father of taxonomy. Father of taxonomy. He gave two kingdom classification. Two kingdom classification by which all the living organisms were placed into two kingdoms, that is plants and animals. So his classification some years followed by different scientists. After that, another scientist, he gave 5 kingdom classification, who is Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker. He gave 5 kingdom classification. 5 kingdom classification. According to him, so the 5 kingdom classification means, so all the living organisms are classified into 5 kingdoms. Okay, it is proposed in 1969. 1969. Okay, that's all. So according to him, 5 kingdom classification. According to him, 5 kingdom classification is the first kingdom, Monera. Second kingdom is Protista. Third kingdom is fungi. Fourth kingdom is Plantae. Fifth kingdom is Animalia. Like this way, 5 kingdom classification given by the Robert Whittaker in 1969. Next, so among those 5 kingdom classification, the first kingdom is Monera. The first kingdom is Monera. So generally here, so Monera, important features we will discuss. So the first one is unicellular. Unicellular means single celled and prokaryotic organisms. Unicellular, single celled, prokaryotic organisms. Prokaryotic means what? So absence of well-defined nucleus. Absence of well-defined nucleus. They lack other membrane bound organelles. Other membrane bound organelles. Okay, that's all. So this is first important feature. Next one is So microscopic organisms, almost all the kingdom Monera organisms are microscopic. Microscopic organisms, they are the smallest and plentiful. Smallest and plentiful. Plentiful on earth. Plentiful on earth. See, microscopic organisms, they are smallest and plentiful on earth. Okay, that's all. Next here, see here, most of the organisms, most of the, here see, most of them have rigid cell wall. Rigid cell wall. Most of the prokaryotes consist of rigid cell wall, like this way. The cell wall is rigid. This is rigid cell wall, like this. Rigid cell wall. They consist of rigid cell wall. Okay, that's all. Next, they have simple structure. They have very simple structure, but are very complex in behavior. Complex in behavior. Their behavior is very complex. Okay, next, bacteria as a group show most extensive metabolic activity. Metabolic activity. Most extensive metabolic activity. So they have various modes of nutrition. Generally, moriners have various. They have various mode of nutrition. Various mode of nutrition. Those various modes of nutrition are, some are autotrophic. Some are autotrophic. Autotrophic means everybody knows that synthesize their own food from inorganic substances. Inorganic substances. They could be, autotrophic could be of two types. Photoautotrophic, and chemoautotrophic. Chemoautotrophic. So here photoautotrophic organisms. Organisms use light energy for the preparation of food material. Here chemoautotropes derive energy from chemical reactions. Derive energy from chemical reactions. So that's all. Next here, these are photoautotropes and chemoautotropes. Next, large majority of them are heterotrophic organisms. Majority of the monirans are heterotrophic. That is, they don't prepare their own food material. They depend on other organisms for food. Okay, that's generally here. Nutrition is of two types. One is autotrophic. Another one is heterotrophic. Autotrophic and heterotrophic. Autotropes are again two types, that is already we have discussed here. Photoautotropes, chemoautotropes. Heterotropes depend on other organisms for the food. These are three types. Some are free living. Some are symbiotic. Some are parasitic. So free living. So they themselves survive freely and collect the food material. Symbiotic means what? Have beneficial relationship with other organisms. Beneficial. Both the organisms will be benefited. Parasites. In this one organism will be benefited, one organism is get infected. Okay, these are called heterotrophic organisms. Next here, next point, they are known as decomposers. Okay, morinans are known as decomposers and mineralizers. In the biosphere. Okay, so next here, they have been put into two main groups. Major groups are main groups. Okay, one is ancient bacteria, sorry, archaebacteria, archaebacteria, archaebacteria. Another one is eubacteria, eubacteria. About them later we will discuss. So depending upon their shape, there are four types. Monirans are four types depending upon their shape. So some are coccus bacteria. Example, spherical shaped bacteria, like this way, spherical shaped bacteria. So it is first one. Some are bacillus bacteria, bacillus bacteria. Example, rod shaped bacteria. So like this way, rod shaped bacteria. Some are Vibrio bacteria. Example, comma shaped, like this way, comma shaped, bacteria. Next, fourth one is Spirillum bacteria. Example, spiral shaped, like this way, spiral shaped. Like this way, depending upon their shape, monirans are four types: coccus bacteria, bacillus bacteria, Vibrio bacteria, and Spirillum bacteria. Okay, that's the next here. Classification. So monirans are classified into two types. The kingdom Monira is classified into two types. It is two types. One is archaebacteria. So another one is eubacteria. Archaebacteria and eubacteria. So it is also called ancient bacteria. Okay, so eubacteria, this is called true bacteria. First of all, let us see archaebacteria. It is also called ancient bacteria. Okay, in this one, it is first one. They are supposed to be the oldest and or ancient. Here already mentioned. Okay, this is. Next one is, so they are special as they can survive. Under extreme conditions, such as absence of oxygen, high salt, acidic pH, very high temperatures, that is 100 degrees centigrade temperatures. Okay, like this way, different temperatures they can survive. Next here, so halophiles, extremely salt areas. So can live in strong salt solutions. Okay, that's all. Next, some are methanogens. Marshy areas. Okay, produce methane gas. So methanogen bacteria generally lives in marshy areas. Marshy areas means what? Where the muddy soil will be there. In those places they will survive. Some of the methanogens even can survive in ruminant animals. That is, ruminant animals like cows and buffaloes. Okay, that's all. So these are plentiful. They are plentiful in dung. Generally, methanogen bacteria more and more occurs in dung. So some of the archaebacteria are thermoacidophile. acidophiles. So they can survive in hot springs, extreme temperatures, found in hot sulfur springs, sulfur springs, sulfur springs. At high temperatures of 80 degrees centigrade to 100 degree centigrade temperatures, they can survive. This is the explanation about Archaebacteria. Next here, Eubacteria. Eubacteria. So these eubacteria also referred to as true bacteria. True bacteria. They are present in abundance. So generally eubacteria are present in huge number in our planet. Okay. So they have been put into two groups. Eubacteria have been divided into two groups. Those are, first one is cyanobacteria. Another one is cyanobacteria. Another one is bacteria. That's the first one is cyanobacteria. So cyanobacteria, they are commonly called blue-green algae. Blue-green algae. They are supposed to be the earliest oxygen producing photosynthesizers. Okay, that's all. Next, they have chlorophyll A, which is similar to green plants, which are similar to green plants, and photosynthetic autotrophs and photosynthetic autotrophs. See, so generally cyanobacteria consists of chlorophyll A. So that chlorophyll A is similar to the green plants and photosynthetic autotrophs. So here, so they are unicellular, colonial, or filamentous. Some are marine organisms. Some are terrestrial algae. Okay, that's all. See here. So generally, cyanobacteria colonies are generally surrounded by gelatinous. Cyanobacteria are generally surrounded by a gelatinous sheet. Okay, so generally cyanobacteria consists of a specific property. They have certain cells. Those cells can absorb atmospheric nitrogen. Those cells are called heterocysts. Heterocysts are responsible for the fixing atmospheric nitrogen. This is the explanation about the cyanobacteria. So generally cyanobacteria play an important role in economic importance. They have great economic importance. Okay, that's it. Next, examples of cyanobacteria are nostoc, anabina. So anabina, spirulina. So it is a protein-rich food material. Okay, that's all. Next, another one is bacteria. So generally, bacteria. So they are microscopic unicellular, unicellular and small organisms. Okay. So next, they vary greatly in shape. Generally, they vary greatly in shape. Okay, that's all. So bacterial cells generally surrounded by a capsule. See, like this way, bacterial cell will be there. Bacterial cell is surrounded by capsule or slime layer. Like this way, one capsule will be there. Okay, this is a capsule or slime layer. This is called. Okay, bacterial cells are generally surrounded by a capsule or slime layer, under which a cell wall is present. Cell wall is present. This is called cell wall. This is the cell wall. Below the capsule, this is called capsule. So below which cell wall, this is called cell wall. This cell wall is present. So generally, cell wall contains a chemical substance that is called murin. Murin. So murin is also called peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycan. That gives this peptidoglycan gives protection against chemical and mechanical injuries. Mechanical injury. See, so here cell wall. This is the cell wall. The cell wall contains murin or peptidoglycan, which give protection to the bacteria from chemical and mechanical injuries. Generally, so the genetic material in the bacteria is in the form of single circular DNA. So like this way, single circular DNA. The genetic material is in the form of single circular DNA. So generally here, cytoplasm inside the bacteria, the cytoplasm appears granular due to the presence of food, lipid, and glycogen granules. Okay, that's all. Next here, if we will see, many bacteria consist of locomotory organs. Those are called flagella. So generally, like this way, bacteria will be there. Here, a kind of flagellum. Flagella will be there. So some bacteria may have villi or fimbriae. So those are hair-like projections which is located on the surface. So like this way, here villi or fimbriae, these are hair-like structures which project on the surface of the bacteria. So generally, bacteria could be autotrophic. Or heterotrophic. First of all, autotrophic. Autotrophic. So autotrophic organisms could be photoautotrophs, and also chemoautotrophs, photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. Photoautotrophs using sunlight as a source of energy. So chemoautotrophs as they oxidize various inorganic substances like nitrites, ammonia, and use released energy for the synthesis of ATP, adenosine triphosphate, They play a great role in recycling the nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, and sulfur. Okay, that's all. These are all called autotrophic organisms. Now we will see bacteria could be of two types. Autotrophic organisms finish. Next, heterotrophic organisms. So heterotropy. Heterotrophic organisms. Okay, see here, heterotrophic organisms. So they are the most abundant. Heterotrophs are most abundant, most abundant, and could be saprophytes. Saprophytes could be saprophytes, symbionts, and parasites. Saprophytes, they decompose the surroundings and keep the earth always clean and hygiene. Symbiotes means mutually benefit with each other. One organism will be benefited, another organism also benefited. Both the organisms will be benefited. Parasites, in this one organism will be benefited, another one get disease. This is called heterotrophs. Okay. Next, a large number of bacteria are beneficial to humans as they are helpful in number of ways, such as making curd, making curd from milk, production of antibiotics, production of antibiotics, and also help for fixing nitrogen, etc. So that's all. This is the nutrition. Next, reproduction. Okay. So bacteria reproduce by binary fission. Binary fission means already everybody knows that. Under favorable conditions, they reproduce by spore formation. So favorable conditions, bacteria produce spore formation. The bacterial spores can withstand extreme conditions and germinate under favorable conditions, and become active cells again. So next here, bacteria shows a form of sexual reproduction called conjugation. A form of sexual reproduction that is called conjugation. In the conjugation, DNA is transferred from one bacteria to another bacteria. One bacteria to another bacteria. So this process is called conjugation. Okay, that's all. So mycoplasmas. See, mycoplasmas are smallest known prokaryotes. Smallest prokaryotes. They lack cell wall. Hence, it can change shape easily. So due to the lack of cell wall, mycoplasmas can change their body shape easily. Okay, so next they can survive without oxygen. Without oxygen they can survive. Many mycoplasma are pathogenic in nature. In animals and plants. So some pleuropneumonia like organisms, cause pneumonia disease in animals. Disease in animals and plants. In animals, pneumonia disease. In plants, it causes witches broom disease. Witches broom disease means infected plant parts could not grow properly. Okay, students, next kingdom Protista. So the kingdom Protista includes single celled celled eukaryotic organisms. Single celled eukaryotic microscopic organisms. Most of the protists are aquatic. They live in aquatic habitats. Generally here, the cells have eukaryotic cell organization. Eukaryotic cell organization. That means have well-defined nucleus. Well-defined nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Membrane-bound organelles like mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, and plastids. These are all the parts are commonly present in eukaryotic protists. Okay, so here if we will see protist organisms classification of protists. So the kingdom protista is divided into three parts, three classifications. So first one is photosynthetic protista. Photosynthetic protista. Second one is saprophytic protista. Saprophytic protista. And third one is protozoans. Okay, so this photosynthetic protista, again three types. That is chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, and third one is euglenoids. Okay, that's all. Saprophytic protista. It is of only one type, that is slime molds. Example, Dictyostelium. Next, protozoan protista. It is of four types. Amoeboid protozoans. Second one is flagellated protozoans. Third one is ciliated protozoans, and fourth one is sporozoans. This is the classification of protist. In this one, next we will see. So first classification, photosynthetic protists, that is chrysophytes. They are microscopic and float passively in water habitats. And are called phytoplanktons. So generally they are found in fresh water as well as as well as in marine water. Okay, that's all. Most of the organisms being photosynthetic. They are the most important and chief producers in the marine ecosystem. Okay, that's an example here. Triceratium, diatoms. Chrysoparella, It is also called golden brown algae. Okay, this is called chrysophytes. Second one is dinoflagellates. Here see, second one is dinoflagellates. Second one is dinoflagellates. 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 So here these are also unicellular, mostly marine habitats and photosynthetic organisms. Photosynthetic organisms. Okay, these are the next to the chrysophytes as producers in oceans. Generally, dinoflagellates bioluminescent also, bioluminescent also. That means what? They can produce light. They can produce light. Bioluminescent also. Okay. So next here, very often dinoflagellates produces, especially red dinoflagellates. Red dinoflagellates. Red dinoflagellates. Red dinoflagellates like gonialax undergo rapid multiplication and cause blooms that make the sea appear red. Okay, the toxins. So a kind of toxins are released from the dinoflagellates. Such large number of marine animals and kills fish. Those are called, example, gonialax and glinodium. Okay, so these are all the characteristic features of dinoflagellates. Classification, euglenites, they are unicellular, free living. Majority of them are freshwater organisms found in stagnant water. Okay, next one is, instead of a cell wall, they have protein rich layer. So that protein rich layer is called pellicle. For example, euglenoid organism body, if you see, like this way will be there. Okay, like this way. Okay, so on this one, so protein rich layer is present on the body. Protein rich layer, this is called pellicle. Protein rich layer, this is called pellicle. Protein rich layer, that is called pellicle. Protein rich layer, that is called pellicle. So pellicle, which is flexible and allows a change in shape. Okay, that's all. Next one, euglenites have two flagella, short and a long one, short and long. The long flagella helps in the long flagella helps in locomotion. The long flagella, this is called long flagella. This long flagella helps in locomotion. So generally here, euglenoids consist of chlorophyll. In this, a kind of chlorophyll is present. So due to the presence of chlorophyll, euglenoids can perform photosynthesis. Though they are photosynthetic, in the presence of sunlight, when sunlight is not available, they behave like heterotrophs. By predating on small organisms. Okay, that's all. They reproduce. Generally, euglenides reproduce asexually by longitudinal. Asexually by longitudinal, like this way. Longitudinal. Binary fission. Longitudinal binary fission. And by fist, and forms a cyst during unfavorable conditions. So Euglenides during unfavorable conditions forms a kind of a cyst. So throughout the unfavorable condition, it will survive inside the cyst. When favorable conditions are raised, so the cyst breaks and comes to outside and develops into new organism. Here example is euglenoids. Euglenoids example is euglena. Okay, that's all. This is the explanation about protists. Last and final, still photosynthetic protists completely finished. Next is saprophytic protists. That saprophytic protist we will discuss in next video.